On April 6, 1941, as hundreds of Luftwaffe aircraft rained bombs over Belgrade in an effort to subdue Yugoslavia, Nazi Germany simultaneously launched Operation Marita, the invasion of Greece. For Hitler, Greece posed a potential threat to the southern flank of his planned assault on the Soviet Union. Securing the Balkans was crucial to protecting supply routes and ensuring stability in southeastern Europe. The German 12th Army, commanded by Field Marshal Wilhelm List and reinforced by Italian and Bulgarian troops, swept through Greece in just weeks. Despite determined resistance, the defenders were overwhelmed. By April 27th, Athens had fallen and the mainland lay under Axis control. Yet the conquest did not bring peace. Across the rugged countryside, local partisans rose in defiance, and their guerrilla warfare soon provoked savage reprisals. Resistance groups, known as Andartes, used sabotage, ambushes, and raids to harass German patrols and supply lines. The largest of these was YLAS, the military wing of the National Liberation Front, strongly influenced by the Communist Party. To the Nazis, this made them not only insurgents but ideological enemies, labeled as criminals and savages who had to be annihilated without mercy. German forces answered resistance with escalating brutality. Western Macedonia, in particular, witnessed horrifying acts of reprisal. One of the worst came in the village of Kleisoura. On the evening of April 4, 1944, around 150 to 300 partisans led by Alexandros Rosios camped near Kleisoura, awaiting a German convoy believed to be carrying goods looted from Jewish shops in nearby Kastoria. At dawn the next day, they ambushed the convoy at a mountain pass called Duli, killing several German soldiers and destroying vehicles. In a grim display meant to humiliate the enemy, the partisans mutilated the bodies before retreating into the mountains. Before leaving, they reassured the villagers that the Germans would spare women, children, and the elderly. Trusting this promise, only the men fled to the hills, nearby villages, or monasteries, leaving the most vulnerable behind. That same afternoon, German troops entered Kleisoura, accompanied by Bulgarian collaborators under the notorious pro-Nazi officer Andon Kalchev. What followed would become one of the deadliest massacres of the German occupation of Greece. On April 5, 1944, soldiers from the 4th SS Polizei Panzergrenadier Division, together with their allies, unleashed a slaughter. Around 280 civilians were killed, women, children, infants, and the elderly among them. Victims were shot, burned alive in their homes, babies were bayoneted, and pregnant women were mutilated. The atrocity became known as the Kleisoura massacre, a symbol of the unrelenting cruelty of occupation and the terrible cost of resistance. The German troops responsible for the massacre belonged to Regiment 7 of the 4th SS Polizei Panzergrenadier Division, under the command of SS-Obersturmbannführer Karl Schümers, a notorious officer known for his brutality. The violence began as the soldiers entered Kleisoura seemingly peacefully, gathering women, children, and the elderly in the streets and the village square. At the same time, a second unit of SS troops and Bulgarian collaborators approached from another direction, opening fire on the civilians with machine guns. Panic spread through the village. Some tried to flee, but many were captured. The soldiers stormed homes, dragging residents outside to execute them. Pregnant women were disemboweled, mothers holding infants were shot, children were bayoneted, young girls gunned down in their yards, and elderly men and women were beaten or burned alive in their homes. The attackers advanced relentlessly, setting houses ablaze with incendiary powder and destroying public buildings, including schools and the village library. Even Father Georgis Mitras, the local priest, who pleaded for mercy while holding the Holy Cross, was murdered without hesitation. The massacre lasted nearly 2 hours. Around 5 p.m., a signal flare marked the end of the operation. By then, Kleisoura lay in ruins. 280 civilians were dead, most of them women, children, and the elderly. At least 40 others were wounded, and over 150 homes had been destroyed. In the days following, survivors who had hidden in nearby forests returned to a scene of horror. Bodies were scattered among the ruins, many burned beyond recognition. The village cemetery could not accommodate all the dead, so burials were conducted in courtyards, churchyards, and shallow graves along the hillsides. The massacre occurred during Holy Week, adding a devastating spiritual weight to the tragedy. For the people of Kleisoura, their village became a symbol of sacrifice and national mourning. The massacre was part of Operation Magewitter, May Storm, an SS campaign aimed at crushing resistance through terror. Schümers believed the local population supported the partisans and sought to subdue them through extreme violence. Just 2 months later, he would order another widely condemned massacre in the village of Distimo. Even within Nazi ranks, the massacre shocked some officials. Hermann Neubacher, the Reich's political envoy to Southeast Europe, described Kleisoura as a bloodbath and argued it violated German reprisal policies. Schümers was summoned and questioned by military authorities about the killing of women and children. He claimed his troops had come under fire from partisans in the village. Despite contradictory testimony from his own men, he was acquitted and remained in command. After the war, it was proven that his account was false. No evidence of partisan fire was ever found. The Second World War in Europe ended on May 8, 1945. While not all responsible for the Kleisoura massacre were held accountable, some faced justice. Andon Kalchev, a pro-Nazi Bulgarian collaborator, was tried, sentenced to death, and executed in August 1948. Karl Schümers died weeks after the massacre on August 18, 1944, when his vehicle struck a mine. 3 months after Kleisoura, the 4th SS Polizei Panzergrenadier Division was transferred to Serbia and later tasked with monitoring Soviet troop movements in Hungary. By December 1944, the division had suffered such heavy losses that only 800 soldiers and 13 operational assault guns remained. On December 31st, it was withdrawn to Slovakia, eventually retreating back to Germany, where its remnants continued fighting alongside the 1st Panzer Army. In October 1944, after years of harsh occupation, Greece was finally liberated. The retreating Germans left behind widespread destruction, a shattered infrastructure, and a crippled economy. During the war, approximately 350,000 Greeks lost their lives, and over 60,000 Greek Jews were murdered in Nazi concentration camps. Thanks for watching the History of Front channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.